out of the Samvatsara calendar. There's only one other civilization that used this, and that is the Chinese, and they had borrowed these thoughts from India. So, having heard all these things, we are now in a position to rebut the Aryan invasion theory model. Max Muller, he said the earliest books of Rig Veda were written in the Chandas period, which is 1200 BCE to 1000 BCE. Remaining books of Rig Veda in the Mantra period, 1000 to 800 BC, Brahmana period, 800 to 600, the Sutra period, 600 to 200 BCE. All the Vedic works, the Vedangas, Aranyakas, everything was stuffed into this period, saying this is when it happened. However, in astronomy, now we have seen something else. We have seen that Colebrook himself, a Britisher, said Vedanga Jyotisha has to be dated to 1400 BCE, whereas Max Muller said Vedanga Jyotisha should be in the Sutra period in 200 BC. Where is that and where is 1400 BCE? Brahmana period is 800 to 600 BCE, but we saw the Kritika phenomenon in Shatapatha Brahmana is 2982 BCE based on the astronomy that it contains. So clearly we have a disconnect between what Max Muller has said and this one. Similarly, the Rig Veda had stories of Aditi, had story of Ashwinis, which we dated to 7200 BCE. Where is that and where is Chandas period 1200 BCE? So clearly, if you look at the astronomy contained in Indian texts, they are completely against the linguistic model that was used by the Europeans to define the Aryan invasion theory, that the Aryans came to India in 1500 BC, brought Sanskrit, all these kind of assertions. They can all be contested by looking at astronomy. So somebody went to Max Muller in a conference and asked, Mr. Max Muller, should all of Hindu chronology be held hostage to the biblical timelines? Because that's what they were using those days. The Bible said God created the world in 4004 BCE. God destroyed the world in Noah's flood in 3000 BCE. And there cannot be any history before that. That is the assertion in the Bible. And many Europeans believed that. They believed that in the 17th century, 18th century, till the age of rationalism, 19th century, they believed in these things. Max Muller also believed in that. William Jones also believed in that. So that is a time frame when he did all this kind of datings. So when somebody asked him that, he was so upset, he wrote this book on ancient Hindu astronomy and chronology, where he said, I cannot believe any Indian text. So he said they're all unreliable, and he only accepted Colebrook's date for Vedanga Jyotisha because that is after the Aryan invasion theory, 1400 BCE. So for that reason, he accepted that. Other things, he discarded that. So very, very interesting that even today there are Indian scholars. I have talked to some of them. When we talked about Hindu astronomy, they say, oh, it's all unreliable work. But you talk to them and try to find out their knowledge of Indian astronomy, you find they have no knowledge at all of Indian astronomy. So it is very, very unfortunate that it has become fashionable to say these things, but it is not based on knowledge. It is just based on somebody saying it in the distant past and repeatedly saying the same things. And if you look at colonial scholarship, gave rise to the neo-scholarship. This is now the American school of thought coming in. Otto Neugebauer. So he wrote this book, Exact Sciences in Antiquity, where he alleged that Indians learned astronomy from the Babylonians. He makes some points in this book. The length of the longest to shortest day, because of the solstices, the Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, longest day, shortest day, 3:2, is the same in Hindu and Babylonian astronomy. He says Varaha Mihira, using the 1825 accounts of Tamil astronomers, basically he says that they use the linear function. Varamira as well as Tamil astronomers use linear function to compute the moon's motion. If you have to find out, there's an algorithm called zigzag method. That zigzag method, he alleges, is the same as Babylon, and therefore this knowledge came from Babylon into India. The terminology, zodiac names, he's saying they also match, and therefore he says it came from outside. He says Varamihira incorrectly copied constants of planets from Babylon. That is also a disputable one. And his conclusion is Indians copied astronomy from Greeks and Babylonians. This whole assertion has been demolished by Subhash Kak. Anybody is interested, please Google for this particular paper, Babylonian and Indian Astronomy Early Connections, where he has taken each of these assertions and he's demolished this, saying that this is all based on incorrect understanding of Indian astronomy. Such assertions are made. Well, Otto Neugebauer's student was a famous professor called David Pingree. So Pingree, he translated a Nepali copy, mistranslation of Yavaneshwara's Yavana Jataka, and he continued the claims of his teacher, saying that Indians incorrectly borrowed from the Greeks and Babylonians, talking about all of these things. And once again, my references, you please read Subhash Kak for a rebuttal to his ideas also. Also, this Shukla in this paper, he is also disputing this particular reference. He is also disputing these wrong translations. He corrects the translations of Yavana Jataka, and he says that based on wrong ideas, wrong translations, he's made assertions. Another researcher called Bill Mark, he is very, very strong in his writings. So please look for Bill Mark, and you'll find that he also claims Pingree has fabricated findings. He says he's misread the text and has used conjectures to arrive at these kind of conclusions. Very strong allegations where he's saying that cannot trust anything Pingree has done. However, Pingree is taken as one of the leading authorities on such assertions that Indians learned from the Greeks and the Babylonians. That parampara is not finished yet. So the student of Pingree is Kim Lofker. She wrote this book, Mathematics in India, and she also subscribes to Aryan invasion theory. Though she's open to the idea whether Indians learned from the Babylonians, she discards the idea that the Kerala school of mathematics influenced Europe, calculus, and other things. She's got a strong Eurocentric view. If you read this book, you find that. In fact, if you look at Parameshwara gave an expansion to the sine function. That expansion is something known to many engineers today as a Taylor series. In Taylor series, you take a function. If you perturb that function, you can write out an infinite series that approximates that function. Parameshwara gave the first 2 or 3 terms in that function, but he showed a factor of 4 in the denominator instead of 6. Based upon that, she attacks this whole work and says that Parameshwara did not know functional approximation, that was based on some other idea and not an understanding of Taylor series. So she went through enormous amounts of effort to try and assert this. However, the reality is entire school of thought in Kerala school of thought was based on functional approximation. They needed to know from one sign position to the next sign position, is there an easy way to approximate that function? And these perturbations were made to understand the geometrical nature and how to get this next value without too much of effort. So clearly in India, there was a tradition of functional approximation, which they are disputing. However, this is the parampara that is defining European thought, Western thought into Indian mathematics, even to the current day. All right, so far I started out with philosophy, Indian philosophy of learning. I talked about roots of knowledge systems. I started talking about astronomy. I said the earliest astronomy in India was encoded in stories. These stories had the metaphor or some story in the metaphor, and they actually encoded some knowledge or some observational wisdom. Then we went and looked at the nakshatra model. We saw about precision. We saw many, many data points in Indian texts that are talking about great antiquity, really amazing antiquity that is encoded in Indian texts. We talked about how that era gave rise to Siddhanta astronomy, mathematical astronomy. We said there were 18 Siddhantas that are lost. We don't even have them. So it shows that a gradual development in astronomy. There's a tendency by the Europeans to start it with Aryabhatta, saying he's the first. However, Surya Siddhanta is clear. There were 18 Siddhantas before it, which we don't have. And just because we don't have it doesn't mean Aryabhatta started it. Aryabhatta did not start his work in a vacuum. So we see evidence of mathematical astronomy going all the way, let's say from Aryabhatta or the Surya Siddhanta and earlier, going up to Patani Samantara Chandrasekhar. We see refinements and additions to the knowledge base. And from that, we went into the Western allegations, how Indian astronomy can be used to rebut the Aryan invasion theory model. And we saw that from Max Muller's time till present day thought, there are attacks on Indian astronomy. There are attempts to discredit Indian astronomy because Indian astronomy has got the greatest potential to attack the Aryan invasion theory. So what is happening is a discrediting. They are saying, Max Muller said it's unreliable. And because Max Muller said it's unreliable, all our Marxist historians, leftist historians, everybody is repeating the same thing. Unreliable, they don't even talk about Indian astronomy. And the same kind of thinking is there in Otto Neugebauer, Pingree, Lofke, and other Western historians who are trying to say that Indians learned from Greeks and Babylonians to show that it's recent, that astronomy is recent in India. However, the question must come, how is it that Indians have this knowledge of these ancient observations? Did they have differential calculus refined so great that Aryabhatta could work backwards and talk about Kali Yuga? Is that possible?